Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to my Cisco CCNA DHCP NAT-lab. We can consider this lab as a features lab, iOS feature lab. So DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol and NAT stands for Network Address Translation. The purpose of DHCP is automatic IP assignment to routers or devices like PCs and servers. On the other hand, NAT, most of the time it hides the inside private IP to public IP addresses. So we have to look at the diagram here. The diagram has four routers. It has R100, 1, 2, and 3. R100 is considered as my internet router, and R1, R2 are my inside network, even R3 as well my inside network. So if you look at the diagram between R1 and R2, even on R2 Ethernet 00, I'm running RIP version 2. But I'm telling R2 Ethernet 1, Ethernet 01 is a DHCP client. So R2 and R1, they are directly connected to each other. They are on the same subnet. So there is no relay agent involvement. But on the other hand, if you look here, R3 also my DHCP client. Yeah, R3 also DHCP client. So what's going to happen? R3 will ask IP from R2, then R2 forward the IPs to. So way it works, guys. R3 will ask IP from, he will broadcast. So R2 will get the IP. We have to put a special command. Once we put the special command, R2 will forward the IP request to DHCP request to R1. On the other hand, R2 is a DHCP server on the same segment. So you don't have to worry anything. You can directly ask IP from a DHCP server. So there are two things happening. When R3 asks IP address from a DHCP server, R2 will act as a DHCP relay agent and R1 is a server. When R2 requests IP address from R1 is a direct one. So guys, the DHCP itself is a process. You have to know. So there are process it uses called DORA process. So DHCP is using DORA process. You have to understand what is this D, what is O, R, and A. Not for right now, even in the advanced studies for CCNA, I don't think. So, but let's go through quickly. D stand for discover, O stand for offer, R stand for request, and A stand for acknowledgement. So this goes from client to server, this goes from server to client, this goes from again client to server, finally server to client. So that means if a device want to get IP address from a DHCP server, they will go through the entire DORA process. And before we go to the lab, I want to just give you guys some information about NAT. So NAT stand for Network Address Translations, and if it's going to hide behind one IP address, in our case, so it is called PAT, Port Address Translations. So NAT IPs are called private IPs. So normally you call as private IPs. Sometimes you call as RFC 1918 IPs. Or sometimes you can call as a NAT IPs. So you have to kind of remember these addresses. For class A is 10. So entire 10 ranges become class A. In my example, my local area network is that entire range. So entire 255 range. Then in class B, you have 172.16.00 all the way up to 172.31.255.255. So class B is kind of very hard to remember because it's 16 to 31. But class C is very easy. It is entire 192.168.00, 192.168. Even though it's a class C, entire kind of a class B. That means this entire 192.168 range. So most of the time, if you use any Linksys router or any home router, you're going to, they normally prefer instead of 10s and 172, they prefer the 192.168 range. But everything is called NAT IP or private IP. So guys, hopefully you guys done the classwork. So we are going to go through the conditions and do. So again, I already pre-configured the IPs except R2 and R3 we are going to make as a DHCP client. Let's see the conditions. Configure network as per the diagram. R2 Ethernet 0 must be part of RIP version 2. Let's configure RIP. Make sure R1 has a DHCP server and R2 Ethernet 01 and Ethernet 00 are DHCP client. That means R2 Ethernet 01 and R3 Ethernet 00 DHCP client. we want to make sure when the DHCP R1 send the DHCP reply, R2's default gateway is R1 and R3's default gateway is R2. That means R3 default gateway is 10.23.23.2 and R2 default gateway is 10.12.12.1. In order for this to happen, we have to create two pools on R1 and R2. Finally, we will configure NAT on R1, network address translation. Let's allow entire 10/8 to go out to internet. So basically after that, the R1 will be doing NAT. So to do this one, let's look at the IP connectivity first. So I have all the IPs are configured except for R2 and R3. So remember, Cisco router can be a DHCP server or it can be DHCP client, or the router can be both DHCP server and client at the same time. So very important concepts. Okay, let's go to our internet router. I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to touch the internet router. It's already pre-configured. Show IP interface brief. So it has 3 IPs, but if I type show IP route, I will not see any static route or any other dynamic routing protocol. R1, let's see the interfaces. Show IP interface brief, exclude unassigned, show IP route. I don't have no static route. I want to make sure there is no routing because we are going to configure everything from scratch. Same thing on R2. Show IP interface brief. Then show IP route connected only. So let's go to R3. Enable show IP interface brief. Then show IP route. Okay, so we are ready to do. So let's do step by step. Let's do the DHCP. So on R, first make R2 Ethernet 01. So I'll go to config T interface Ethernet 01. I'll type IP address DHCP. I'm not going to go to advanced concepts, guys. Again, if you're going to do any advanced studies, you have to know all these one, but I'm going to simply type IP address DHCP. Let's type no shut. Let's put the shutdown. Let's go to R3 and type interface Ethernet 00 shut. Then I will type IP address DHCP. Then as per the diagram, what I want to do on R2, I want to configure the RIP. RIP will not work until it has IP address. Router RIP. I'm going to configure as a classless version 2. Then I'm going to type no auto summary. The network 10.0.0.0. My idea is not to, so when I do this one, it's going to advertise all these 3 interfaces. R3, there is no RIP. So let's go to R1. Config T router RIP version 2, no auto summary. Since my both loopback 0 and Ethernet 0 is 1, I can just type network 10.0.0.0. So right now there is no RIP route here. He is not going to learn. If I type show IP route RIP, I will not learn. Here also, if I type show IP route RIP, I will not learn anything. The reason, if I type show IP interface brief, first of all, the Ethernet 01 is a DHCP by admin down. So couple of things, guys. I'm going to create the pool. So what I will do, I will create on the fly, then I will show you. So let's create the pool for this segment only. So the way to create DHCP, so first of all, you have to type IP DHCP excluded address. You want to exclude your own IP. So 10.12.12.1, that's my own IP. So that means basically I'm saying the R2 can get any IP, 10.12.12, any IP other than 1. Then what I want to do, I'll type IP DHCP pool net 10 12 12. You can type whatever you want. Okay, here I'm going to type network. My network is 10.12.12.0, 255.255.255.0. Then if I want, I can type lease or default router. So for example, the default router has to be 10.12.12.1. Then maybe lease, I can type in days. I can type lease 2. Domain name www.cisnet.ca. Okay, so let's configure the other one too. So exit. If you want to see, you can type show run or show run section DHCP. Again, depending on the iOS code, it might work. So what I did, I have IP DHCP excluded address. I'm saying don't give this IP address, and defining a pool, then defining a network, defining a default router, domain name. Let's create the other one too. So remember, this 10.12.12 is my directly connected interfaces. So I have a directly connected interfaces. So R1 do not need, R1 is a directly connected DHCP server. So there's no relay agent here. Config T. Okay, so we'll create a new pool. So I'm going to put IP DHCP excluded address. I prefer R3 to get 10.23.23.3. So what I will do, 10.23.23.1 to 10.23.23.2. So basically what I'm saying, do not give 10.23.23.1 and 2. I'm just doing for a fun, but technically you have to only omit 2. That means if you omit only 2, the R3 will get .1. So I'm forcing R3 to go .3. The next one is IP DHCP pool. I'm looking in the front. IP DHCP pool net. Let's give 10 23 23. So it's best to type network or PC because it's very easy for you to remember. So network wise is going to be 10.23.23.0, subnet mask 255.255.255.0, default router 23.23.2. So default router is this R2 Ethernet 00 IP address. Let's type the same lease and let's type lease 2, then type domain name www.cisnet.ca. So that's it, the DHCP configuration on router 1. So now it's ready for DORA process. You can type show run. Here, there you go. So I have 2 excluded addresses. So this is what you have to study, what all these commands are. So initially what I will do, then guys, we will make sure R2 get the IPs. So what I'm going to do here, again, these are a bit extra for CCNA studies, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to type debug IP DHCP server packets. Then I'll go to R2. I'll go to interface Ethernet 01 and go and type no shut. So that means as soon as I type no shut, the router 2 should be initiating DHCP request. The DHCP request should go to R1 and R1 should get an IP address. So he already got the IP address. You are seeing this one right now. If I type show IP interface brief, I got the IP address from a DHCP. If I type show IP route, DHCP also getting a default route. If I go here, if I go to my router, I'm seeing lots of DHCP messages. Again, you don't have to worry about this one, guys, too much. So I'm going to just do the debug, undebug all. You can type show IP DHCP question mark. You can type binding, all this one you can type if you want to see. I can type bindings. It tells me through dynamically this guy got an IP address for this particular hardware address. Show IP DHCP conflict. If any DHCP conflict, you are going to see. So guys, now R1 and R2, if I type on R1 show IP route RIP, I'm seeing 2 RIP route. One is 10.2. So now RIP is working. R2 is going to be now I'm going to come to R3 because again it's a DHCP client, it's shutdown mode. But its DHCP server is on another segment. So on R2 Ethernet 00, I have to say if we get any DHCP request, forward to R1. So R2 become DHCP relay agent. So I'm going to go to interface Ethernet 0/0. I'm going to say IP helper is a special command. IP help address, I'm going to say simply 10.1.1.1. So I'm saying R1 is a DHCP server. It can be loopback address, or it can be any physical address, or even it could be 10.12.12.1. I just chose to pick loopback 0. So that's a magic command, guys. So this command make this router, this interface as a DHCP relay. So now we go to R3 and type no shut, and everything should work. No shut. Let's wait. So when I type no shut, what's going to happen? R3 is going to send a DHCP discover message, is going to go to R2, then R2 will forward to R1, then R1 should get an IP address. We'll wait for some time. Very good. So he got the IP address 10.23.23.3. It took some time. Show IP interface brief. It got the IP. If I go to R1, my DHCP server, if I won't see the binding, now I will see 2 bindings. There are 2 bindings. So even from R2, I should be able to, even from R3, I should be able to ping my inside network. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to ping. I'm going to put 10.1.1.1. Okay, so I'm running RIP here. So on R1, what I want to do, I want to put a static default route. On R1, let's put a static default route to point to. So I'm going to put IP route 100.100. So default route is all zeros, 0000 space 0000 100 100 100.100. Can I ping this? Do ping 100 100 100 100. Guys, in Cisco IOS, do command allow to run show ping command or show command from any location. So do will go back to privilege mode. Okay, so I have a start route, but if I go to R2, so R2 should get a default route from R1 is a default route. Okay, guys, right now. So I should be able to ping .1 right now from R3. If I ping 100 100 100.1, that's R1, it will work. But if I go to 100, it will not work because packets are going to 100 with a source address of 10.23.23.23 because R100 don't know how to come back, the packet is dropping. So that's why we are going to do NATing on this particular lab right now. Okay, what is NAT? NAT for CCNA level, very basic NAT, what it do? It translate the source IP addresses, that means any IP on 10 in this example, to a public IP address. So that like a home scenario. In this case, the any 10 IP will be translated to .1. Then it goes out. R100 knows how to come to .1. It will come back to 1. So basically, what's going to happen on Ethernet 00? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same method. I'll use a notepad document to explain the concept. Then we can go and type. So this is the diagram. So couple of things I'm going to type. I type an access list here. Access list, for example, 15 permit 10.0.0.0 0.0.0.255. Basically, I'm saying I'm defining my entire network source with address. Then I'm going to define IP NAT inside source list. My access list number is 15. Interface Ethernet 00 overload. So guys, you must remember command. Sometimes people forget inside. So remember there are 4 keywords: IP NAT inside source, then list, access list number. I could have typed any here, permit any. It's up to you. But in this case, my goal says I had only allowed 10 network to go. So this is the NAT statement. Maybe this can be called as dynamic NAT. So in the advanced studies, there is a static NAT also, but we are going to focus on this one right now. So that's it. So you are giving a NAT. Again, what this command will do, changes the source private IP to new source. That's a very important new source. That means public IP. So basically in our example it's going to change to 100.100.100.1. So before we were not able to ping, but now if I ping, if I ping, when the packet come to R100, the packet source IP will be 100.100.100.1. So he knows. So R1 will keep a table. The table is called NAT table. Then after this one, what we have to do, we have to go to interface Ethernet 00. That's the facing ISP. I must type IP NAT outside. Then I have to go facing my inside interfaces and type IP NAT inside. So these commands are very important, guys. So technically I'm going to use only 4 commands. Let's use the command to configure NAT. Okay, so let's type these commands on R1. Access list 15, permit 10.0.0.0, 0.255.255.255. Just say, guys, I did a typo here. It should be 0.255.255.255. Okay, so that's done. What's next? IP NAT. Put a question mark. Okay, I'm going to put inside source list. So there are two things. Either I can type source list, source static, okay, source list. I'm going to put 15 interface Ethernet 00 overload. So you see exactly same command I'm putting here, IP NAT. So basically what it says, any IP is coming from inside interface which is subjected to access list number 15, please change the source address to Ethernet 00 address. Now I have to enable the NAT. So the way I enable the NAT, I'll go to interface Ethernet 00, I'll type IP NAT outside. I'll wait for a while until, again, whatever iOS code you're using, depending on that, the command will take a little time to activate. So after it activated, I'm going to go and type IP NAT inside on Ethernet 01. Okay, so let's go to interface Ethernet 01, IP NAT inside. So guys, NAT is very powerful feature. Show run section NAT, you can type like that. Okay, so it's give the command. So what I will even do, show run pipe include NAT pipe access. Guys, these shortcuts are for you to learn, but maybe if you write any exam, simulator might not support. So you just type show run. Okay, if you type show run, you are going to see entire NAT. So you have DHCP command. So as a verification purpose, you have to make sure you have IP NAT inside. You have to make sure it has IP NAT outside. If you flip flop, it won't work. So for example, okay, let's finish this one, guys. Here I have an access list number, and also I have the NAT set. So always for basic studies, use show run. Show run is a very powerful command. And time to time, I type copy running config to start to save in the running configurations. Okay, let's come back to, so it should work right now. If I go to R3, if I do the ping one more time, it should work. Let's go to R2, R3, let's ping another IP address. I want to ping my 1.2.3.4, that's also internet. I also want to ping 888, so I'm doing lots of things. I want to change the source, ping 8.8.8.8 source. This is another way to do extended ping. That's okay, there is no source, so let's go to R2. Because R3 don't have loopback 0. Let's go to R2, do normal ping 1.2.3.4. do the same ping will source loopback 0, then ping 8.8.8.8, ping 8.8.8.8 source loopback 0. So remember the difference between extended ping, so change in the source. So we are doing lots of ping, everything is working, but our 100 routing table, it don't know anything about 10 network. Show IP route. There is no 10 network. So what's happening on R1? NAT is happening. The command is show IP NAT translations. When you type show IP NAT translation, it shows you everything. It tells me, okay, this IP originated by 10.2.2.2, 10.2.2.2 again, and also 10.12.12.2, 10.12. So it tells you all the IP and it tells you where you are trying to reach. So show IP NAT destination is a powerful command, and also if you want to clear the table, you can type clear IP NAT translation star. Guys, we talked a lot today. So right now I have full connectivity. I just showed you from R3 I can reach any of the IP. To facilitate this one, what we did, we enable NAT. We made sure. So right now R2 default gateway is R1 and R3 default gateway is R1. In our next lab, we are not going to use DHCP, we are going to use static route. So we will make sure how RIP is going to send a default route inside the network. So guys, go through the video couple of times, make sure you understand the concepts. So DHCP and NAT are very powerful for Cisco normal exams as well as any advanced exams. Again, this is Manny, your Cisco-JUNIPER Master Expert Instructor at cisnet.ca. And if you want any certification, Cisco, Juniper, A+, N+, VMware, Microsoft, Linux, or any cloud, please contact www.cisnet.ca. Guys, again, thanks for watching my video, and I will see you guys soon in another video.